5 after, so we'll get started. We've got a couple really good presentations for you here today. But first, who's here for the first time? Anybody? Yes, welcome to Wake Ups. We appreciate that. Who's here to heckle Devin today? Yeah! I'm looking forward to that. Real quick, for those of you who are here for the first time, we're going to do 2 presentations, 6 to 8 minutes apiece, followed by 20 minutes of question and answer. During the question and answer, raise your hand. Myself and Deb will be running the microphones. If you don't mind, stand and hold the microphone for the quality of the recording for the presenters. But without further ado, our first presenters today are Tim and Andrew with the Daily Scholar. So take it away.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, hey, good morning. It's great to be here with you guys today. We're really excited to show you what we have to offer. All right. So the Daily Scholar is an exciting new website with a unique blend of news, amateur journalism, some elements of social media, and it's nearly 100% user-generated content. So as you can see, our tagline here on the bottom really kind of encapsulates our mission and vision for the website and our company. And those 3 things are to think critically, engage respectfully, and speak freely. So why TDS? Well, as Tim and I have used social media for the past several years, been online a lot, sure many of you have Facebook, Twitter accounts, one thing that we have seen is that a lot of interaction on social media is very shallow. It's a lot of surface interaction. It's, hey, this is what I did today. What? Okay, sorry, I didn't realize that was off. Can you hear me now? Okay. So a lot of interaction is shallow. A lot of the content is just everyday content. And we are really interested in something that is beyond that. We've grown really disillusioned with a lot of social media, as well as news, information sources. A lot of it is just either very narrowly focused or it's just a lot of different things at one time. We wanted to provide a broad audience, but specifically users who are interested in engaging one another for the purposes of growing intellectually and sharing about the things that are going on in their community and around the world that matter to them. We also believe that the production and dissemination of news and information is at a cultural crossroads. And what I mean by that is that if you read a lot about what is going on, even in our country, the freedom of the press, freedom of speech is beginning to be infringed upon in certain areas. And to us, that's not a good thing. So the Daily Scholar, at its core, wants to empower its users to be able to share whatever they want, as long as it's not hate speech, as long as it's positive, and they'd be able to do that where they're not going to have fear of reprisal for their opinion. So personal attacks, sniping, non-cogent, non-thoughtful responses, impulsive, emotional responses that you see on comment threads and on Facebook, on news, everything. I mean, that stuff can get really dirty. It's like a cesspool, am I right? It can be. So the Daily Scholar wants to eliminate that. We want to be able to change the online culture of user interaction on social media and different sites. So the Daily Scholar is specifically focused on those kinds of things. So our vision, our passion is to empower global citizens, because we live in a global world, we live in a global society, to engage in thought-provoking dialogue and intellectual growth. Albert Einstein said that intellectual growth should begin at birth and not cease until death. And we believe that is true. That's what should happen. But we think that a lot of social media today, that's not happening. Intellectual growth is not happening. People are saying, hey, this is my opinion. If you don't agree with me, then you can go somewhere else. I'm going to defriend you. All right, so that's what we're trying to avoid. So that's our vision. Tim's going to talk a little bit about the site itself.
The best way for me to tell you about the Daily Scholar is to show you what it is. But before there, what we've tried to do is take this passion, our thoughts, and create a venue for users to be able to express themselves that way. So we've created a unique space for you to share interesting information and news articles, create original opinion editorials, and debate topics. I'm going to jump over to our site here now and briefly show you what it looks like. What we've tried to do is put together something that's aesthetically pleasing, that's fun, that's easy to read, and fun for users to go and post content. So if you look at the top here, all these articles are promoted by us. So if a user posts an article, we have an admin panel where we can promote their articles to the top of the page. So if someone posts something that's very interesting, something like forgotten stories of 2014 the media's forgetting about. This user posts this, and we liked it so much we promoted it. Okay? The article's really nice to read. It's user-friendly. You can go all the way to the bottom. The red, you can insert links where the red is. That's kind of what an article looks like. What makes the Daily Scholar different? We've disabled comments for a reason. If you want to engage with somebody, we challenge people to debate them. Not snipe with a short comment, not be negative. If you want to argue with somebody, do it where they can argue back in a format that's fair and fun. So I'm going to show you what debates look like. Debates are fun, and what's different about this is when a debate is done, each user gets 2 points and 2 counterpoints. At the conclusion of that, voting is open for 72 hours and is open for anyone to vote who they think the winner is for that debate. The debate page looks really good. You can see there's this one on white privilege. An article was posted. And you can see down here, you can read the article here. You can go down and see both points, point 2. And at the end, you can vote for who you think the winner is. Okay? And that will be posted to our main page. Also, we've put in here some polls of the day, just for something that's fun. And we do plan on adding some things here later. But just a quick way to go and vote on a poll. You can see some of the polls we've had on here and what people think and their opinion. We do plan on integrating some debate features with polls as well. Your user menu's over here. So when you log in, you can click user menu. It'll pull up on the side who the person is. You can post a new article, a new thought, and it's hard to see, but all your notifications are right there on the bottom too. You can go and bounce to someone's homepage and see what they've posted. This person has posted some thoughts. Here's their active debates. You can hover over and see if this person's won or lost debates. And at the bottom, you'll see other articles by that user. Okay. Quickly, our team, you met Andrew and myself. We do have 2 developers, Tom Hunkapiller, who's our back-end developer, and Chris Gerens is our front-end developer. This script has been built from the bottom up, custom built. We've been developing for about a year and a half on this. Just the future of TDS. What we're looking at is version 2. Right now we're site mapping and developing version 2. We have a lot of cool functionalities we're going to add in there, some enhancements. Mobile applications, we're looking at iOS and Android development. And then we'll also have some really cool ideas to integrate this with higher education. We can't really reveal details yet because we're still working on that. Some of the problems and needs. One of the problems we have, the greatest problem we have, is we're trying to change culture. Online culture is often not talked about, but it's really living and breathing more than any time before. So we're trying to change that. Also, anonymity versus legitimacy. Privacy is a huge issue. Ever since Edward Snowden came out and talked about some of the NSA stuff, there's been a lot of people really worried about what they post online. People have been fired from jobs for liking comments on Facebook, from posting on Facebook. So with a Daily Scholar, we recognize that, and we don't require you to go and put your name on there and post it everywhere. So that's one of the issues with Daily Scholars. We do allow for anonymity. The third thing Andrew talked about is the freedom of press. And then some of our needs. We want to grow our user base. The new currency now, especially for tech sites, is a user base. So that's really what we want to look to. We're open to investors. Andrew and I both put a lot into this. We've done really well getting this up and going without big investors. And then ultimately, especially from the Springfield community, we want your feedback. We're developing version 2 now. We'd love for you to get on the site and give us some feedback on what you think and what you think could make it better. In closing, we don't want it to be the next Facebook. We don't want to be the next Twitter. And we most certainly don't want to be the next MySpace. But our mission, our goal is to change culture, change online culture. That's not going to be easy. That's going to be tough. And we're going to challenge people to think differently, interact differently online, and really think critically. So that's our mission, our goal, and we're confident that the Daily Scholar can offer a venue where we can make that happen.
Thank you.
Chad is going to fix the microphone over there, so you may hear a loud noise. Oh! That would be mean. So, I've got a question for you guys. How are you going to promote this site?
Yeah. As of right now, okay. Is it working? There we go. Okay, I'm not going to move around. Okay. I'm going to talk loud. So as of now, we have a Facebook account and Twitter account. We have been using those every day, all day. We've only been live for 10 weeks at this point. We launched our public beta version on August 11th. So at this point, we've gotten over 20,000 page views in those 10 weeks. Our user base is growing slowly but steadily. So
Is it working? Okay, I'll yell. So is the long-term idea for this to be a for-profit site? Because you didn't address that. And if so, how are you going to monetize it?
looks like we do have a little bit of mic, so thank you for that. First and foremost, thank you all for being here. It's taken a lot of people and a lot of time to put this all together, and I'm excited to present one of the projects that I've been working on for about 3 years now, and we just took it to market at the beginning of this year and made some really large advancements last month, which caused me to see what we can do here in this room for this company. And there's some very particular people that I'm looking for to continue the momentum of this company. And people are going to be kind of a theme of this presentation. So CIEN Solutions is the name of the company. What do we do and what is the company? We're really connecting domestic suppliers and manufacturers with emerging markets, specifically in South America and the Middle East. So the real question and what I'm going to tell you about today is how the hell that got started out of Springfield, Missouri, and how I got involved with it. Because I'm sure you're all wondering, and I know a lot of you here in this room have been wondering what it is that I do and what I've been spending my time on. And I'm really anxious for the guys in the back to start ripping at me. The tables have turned. So really, everything in my personal life, and I think we just lost audio, and in business has been a result of people. Everything comes down to people. And I'm from St. Louis. I came to go to school down here at Missouri State University and started several different companies my sophomore year in 2006. I'll show my age, 27 till the rest of today. And I had a company called DK Financial Group, which was a private membership association, and we invest in foreign currency. And one of my clients saw that I was doing a lot of business in South America and in the Middle East due to Missouri State and the Association of International Students and ELI, which are two really cool programs based here in Missouri. I became really close friends with people all over the world. And we started to do business very slowly, specifically with my investment company. And one of my clients came to me and said his brother-in-law has an electrical engineering company that they've been building for 20, 30 years, really successful, doing $20, $30 million in sales domestically, and they've been developing a new product and a new technology that they wanted to take to market specifically in Saudi Arabia. And there's very few people who are willing to go to Saudi Arabia, let alone know friends and family and colleagues and business partners in that area. So they came knocking on my door, and that was 3 years ago, and through a lot of negotiations, trials, failures, we developed this company to facilitate those contracts. So to me, relationships are everything. And the relationships that I've created throughout my life is really what has brought us here and really what has brought 1 million cups here. So from the bottom of my heart, I thank you all because you all are why I'm here, and I'm curious to see who else you guys know to continue this company forward. So the first product that we started with was called a portable power unit. And this is the technology that a firm out of Tulsa, Oklahoma developed. It's these, you can't really see it too well, but this computer board, this chip right here, is a really interesting technology that charges and decharges batteries, specifically for an oil and gas industry, for oil wells to operate off of the grid. So the bottom line is increased production and decreased time offline. So this technology was developed here in the United States, and they wanted to bring this to market in other countries and other regions, and they came to me to do that. And what started as a simple referral ended up being a full-scale business. Also, electrical engineering has proven to be one of the prime components of our company and simply out of market demand. A really good friend of mine named Fahad Al-Tumani is really responsible for bringing this out to the Middle East. I was in the dorms with him in 2005, and we stayed really close, and he did his last paper on due diligence of bringing electrical engineering services and portable power units into the Middle East. So motors, controls, variable frequency drives, all integrated systems to really move fluids and move processing forward in huge applications, primarily in oil and gas, military, some food processing, and package handling. So here are some of the OEMs and certifications that our manufacturers have. They work with the largest, and these companies provide the parts and pieces that we put together as integrators and electrical engineering firms. You'll see Siemens, ABB, General Electric, these are the companies that are actually manufacturing the motors, the sensors, and some of the variable frequency drives. And then our suppliers put them together as turnkey processes and solutions that we package up and then send overseas. A little out of range here. So also another company that we got hooked up with was Tulsa Tank Gauge, which develops custom tank gauges, sensors, displays to measure the depth of tanks. Chemicals, paraffin solvents, again, to me, business is always about people, right? So we had this huge challenge of how are we going to bring these products and services to an international place like Saudi Arabia, or anywhere in the Gulf Coast countries, or take a war-torn country like Venezuela. Very delicate situations, and there's a lot of contracts, and most attorneys and accountants here in Springfield are not necessarily familiar with that, and international law is pretty crazy, right? So I went to the legal association that set up my investment company, later to find out that they developed a chemical product called PSX11, which is a paraffin solvent that dissolves paraffins and asphaltenes in downwell operations. Interesting technology, but that has not been brought to market domestically or internationally, and we act as a marketing arm for that entire company. So what does that all mean? Specifically, and why I really wanted to present today was we have some interesting struggles, and I'm looking for some people who can help us navigate through these contracts, through these license agreements. Specifically, with our paraffin solvent, we want to do a license agreement internationally. I do not know anything about licensing agreements internationally. I can bring some products and services to market, but setting up those contracts, setting up those models and those procedures is just really out of my scope. And why I wanted to present this company at this particular time is that's what we're looking for. We're looking for procurement specialists, people who are very familiar with international law and international negotiations. This is a distribution company true and through. We do not make the products. Right now, we do not make them. We simply ship them and connect them to different markets and different services. And so people who can help us bring these products and services to different markets, perhaps you might know a new technology or a new supplier, specifically on an industrial or commercial scale, we might look at bringing that product or service to market as well. As I mentioned before, South America and the Middle East are really our hot markets right now. We're very proud to announce last month we just got our agency in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, finally confirmed. It took about a year and a half of paperwork and getting through with the ministry. Not easy to deal with, as some of these people know. And that's really it. So I'm looking for some people. Who else is in this field? Who might you know could help us advance this company? It's pretty specific. It's really niched. It's not like a product or service that everybody can come out here, go to our website, and interact with. It's a little bit out of the normal scope of the startups that we typically go through here. So I'm curious to see what can happen as a result of exposing you all to this company. And I really look forward to the Q&A. So thank you all. Hey, can you flip the light? Can you flip that light?
Devin, I have a question.
Take it easy, guys.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Why can the Middle East not have this technology already? I mean, why are they going to come to you for this, and why are you specialists?
Great question. So, from my experience, the largest, most successful manufacturers and suppliers are typically in the United States, North America, or Europe. Emerging markets like the Middle East and South America just don't have the resources and the technology to fulfill that, so they buy it from other places. And huge companies like PDVSA, Aramco are okay with importing those products and services. Specifically in the Middle East, I can't believe what's going on there right now. Like Texas Steakhouse is blowing up out there. IHOP. These new, those aren't new, but products and services of Western culture are going into emerging markets. A lot of people in Springfield and maybe domestically aren't open in their minds and or hearts to go into these markets, but I've been traveling around there for years, and there's a lot of opportunity out there. Yeah.
I can respond to that question since I'm from Saudi Arabia, and you did a great targeting that kind of business? Because in Saudi Arabia, a lot of these oil companies are very busy with importing oil to other countries. So, and there is actually a law in Saudi Arabia that prevents you from processing oil itself. So like Aramco, as you said, they are very busy working with other countries, like America, with importing oil to them. So it's very smart that you're starting a company like this. But how do you see yourself growing in the Middle East itself? Because there's a lot of other competitors in the region.
Right. So we really didn't know exactly how we were going to bring these products and services to market. We knew that these companies wanted to get into that market, and we spent a lot of time, over 3 years, figuring out which products and services were going to be viable. And at first, our first round of contracts and agreements were with our personal selves, and we were thinking that we were just going to sell directly into that market. But it proved to be just too cumbersome, and just to go through the procurement process with enormous companies like Aramco takes 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 months at a time if you have all of your ducks in a row. So to become a vendor for these huge companies, it's a process. It's a barrier of entry that these companies use, which makes a lot of sense, to just raise the bar for the surveyors and the providers and the procurement specialists to get in and sell to these companies. It just takes a while. So we ended up partnering with an agency in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. That company actually got started specifically to sell our products and services in that market, and that has proven to be the best way, is to have a physical location, an agency that's in-house, or not necessarily in-house, but in-country, and can fill out their own sets of paperwork to where we transfer our assets to that company who then sells to the end user. Does that make sense? What's up, Chris?
Hey, buddy. Question. So it seems like a lot of the stuff you're doing is neat and unique and exciting. And my question is that when you're dealing with these emerging markets, how do you protect the intellectual property of your products and your ideas and your services?
Yes, great question, and really has been a big challenge. So with the products and services that we offer now, there's really only 2 pieces that are proprietary or somehow unique, right? And that's the paraffin solvent, which is a licensing contract, and that's something that I'm really looking to do. I mean, I have no idea. I haven't found anybody yet that is familiar and able and has done an agreement like that. So licensing this chemical to other companies to then manufacture, because it is not cost effective for us to send the chemical itself abroad. So we have to license that chemical to a different company that will then manufacture that chemical. Then the best question is, okay, well, then how do you enforce that international agreement, right? I was talking with somebody the other day. So yeah, that's great. We sign up these contracts, we get these license agreements, but how do you enforce something internationally? And a lot of people, and this has been a good example in myself, background and personal thoughts really affect this. So how are you going to deal with different laws, different rules, regulations? It's really, really hard to. And we basically have to set up the company and the contracts to non-enforce that. So how can we take payment before our products and goods leave ship here domestically is really the best way that we can do that. With other technologies like the portable power unit, that is not patented, and they will not patent it for those very specific reasons. If you saw the 2 black boxes, this is pretty wild, and it's getting really technical, but the black boxes, these black boxes right here, you can't open them. And when you open them, they will completely self-destruct somehow, or I don't know exactly what it is, but you just can't do it. But I mean, as a mad scientist inventor, Russ really knows this, that to either patent a technology or not is kind of a hard situation. And the companies that I'm working with right now have decided not to do that and protect them in secondary ways. Go ahead.
So I'm going to say let's get together after the meeting and there's a lot of topics you mentioned that I've experienced. Because I've got a couple buddies I just met in Branson last week that are in the oil business and he's a field geologist working almost 30 years, and we probably can connect with him and get some references for you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
And I just received my second U.S. patent last week.
Congrats.
And in the course of doing that, software patents are very difficult. It took 6 years to get a software patent through the system. hardware patents are simpler because you don't have all the squishiness. But in a business, there are patents, and when you do a patent, it exposes your intellectual property to the open before the patent is even exposed. And that's the bad part about the patent.
Yeah.
Then I have several trade secrets where it's exactly like the black box you talked about.
Right.
And where you don't want to expose the intellectual property to the public, so you can retain that intellectual property and avoid somebody competing and creating just a small variant of your product.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll get together for sure. Thank you. Mr. Mack.
Mr. Dillon, I
Yes.
appreciate your presentation. I did have a question for any prospects in South America or Middle East. How do you best establish credibility with people that really aren't familiar with your brand? You're relatively new, so how do you assuage any concern or anxiety they might have about your emerging company as compared to the competition?
Right. Great question, and something that we've definitely dealt with. Fortunately, we're able to lean on our suppliers and manufacturers. Their resume and what they do on a yearly basis is impressive. Right now, we have 4 primary suppliers, 2 of which are over 20 years old and are doing north of 25 million a year and have an enormous portfolio. So we simply just get to borrow that, and we act as a distribution arm specifically into foreign markets for them. The 2 other suppliers and manufacturers that we work with are new technologies. So really it's being first to market and offering a product and service that is completely unique and proprietary, which piques interest and is ultimately saving our clients a lot of money, is how we're pushing the brand. Yeah.
All right, Devin, thanks. I don't know if you can hear this, but it's great, by the way, we finally know what you do.
Yes. This is one of many things, yes.
You have a real job, we're so happy. Yeah, so how are you, we look at platforms like Alibaba, bringing suppliers and buyers together without middlemen.
Right.
Do you see that, is it a tool for you? Is that competition for you? Does that not really compute for your business?
Right.
Where do those platforms fit into your future?
Yeah, it's a great question. So right off the bat, it's really just doesn't compute. Our primary products and services are very specific. So a request for proposal or quote is sent to us, and then we process that, and it's a very specific build, specifically for the electrical engineering services. It's completely well-specific or application or new startup specific. With aspects like chemical paraffin solvents, that could be an outlet, but really within the licensing agreement and the way that we're distributing it, it's just not compatible right now. But it definitely is keeping the market open. I think companies like Alibaba are extremely viable, and just connecting emerging markets, I think it's definitely good for everybody involved.
Could you talk a little bit about your company structure, maybe an org chart? How do you run a company that's international all over out of Springfield, Missouri, and how do you structure that for growth and what you want that to look like?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Eric. And just real quick, the prime example of the people aspect of this company. I've known Eric for, 4 or 5, 6 months, and we knew what each other did and lightly knew each other, but we sat down for like 3 minutes last week and talked a little bit more about what we do. And one of his clients is, I've just inquired to offer their products and services. It's amazing. You don't think you know anybody, but these connections are everywhere, and that's really what we're seeking. So what does the company look like? How is it structured? How am I operating internationally? From the very get-go, from 5 years ago, to me, doing business internationally, it was a prerequisite. I had a legal insurance company that I was running, which was national, and I just wanted to travel internationally. So for me personally, to build a lifestyle business and a business that met my lifestyle, I wanted it to be international and go where I went. And really, as soon as you have a product or service that you can sell across the U.S. lines, you become an international company, right? But really, I'm a firm believer in lean startups, 4-hour work week, musing, to set up automation and processes to facilitate contracts, and they go right to the manufacturers and the suppliers. We check in with those manufacturers and suppliers and make sure that the delivery is done on time and in budget, and take our piece of the pie. Tyson? Oh, come on, gentlemen.
All right, well, Devin, I think the point of the whole presentation for you is connections, right? Maybe just somebody would know what you're talking about.
Right. Exactly. This is why I don't typically go around talking about this. You know, when we started 1 Million Cups, you know, you ask, why did I start 1 Million Cups? This is specifically why I brought 1 Million Cups to this town, is because everything I do involves people, and I don't have a product or service to directly sell to you guys, which is some people would see as a liability. And why would I put all this work and time and energy and money and effort into building something like this? It's because there's over 100 people here in this room. And when we apply our intentions towards something, it's massive what can happen. So there's one little connection, one little phone call can do a world of difference for business.
Well, to that note, because you're a very well-connected guy, very well-thought-through guy, just the same.
Thanks, man.
You are. And so I say that because is there, I'm sure
I didn't pay him, I promise.
Not yet, but.
I'm going to have to.
Is there any route you've already explored to dead ends that we would not want to suggest to you? And is there any particular organizations that you'd like to get into that are reputed to have the expertise you're looking for?
Yeah, I would like to connect with distributors, established distributors. So, you know, typically over 15 years, that are already distributing products and services to international markets. To me and CIEN Solutions, the international markets and the emerging markets has been our biggest opportunity and provided us the most benefits. So distributors and or procurement specialists, people who are inside of an enormous corporation that are familiar with the procuring process and can help facilitate that, those are the people that we're looking for. I mean, you know, to boil it down, I knew some suppliers, and I knew some really good friends of mine that I went to college with, and their friends and family work at the largest companies in the world, and I connected some dots, right? So like that's really in essence how this whole thing got started, but you extrapolate that out over a couple years, and you can really build huge international connections and business through that.
Okay.
I want to ask you a question.
Hey, Devin, how's it going?
What's up, Trevor?
As an intermediary, how do you plan on protecting your image whenever, as we know, especially in the petroleum industry, whenever they kind of do sketchy stuff or do things like kind of like crowd control? How are you protecting the establishment that you're a service and not the supplier?
Right. Well, I mean, first and foremost, our suppliers are reputable and they're offering products and services that are being fulfilled. I think the biggest liability as far as reputation management is doing business. You know, I've been saying the Gulf Coast countries, but really, normally I say the Middle East. But I mean, even just in Springfield, Missouri or the Midwest, when you say the Middle East, people think you're absolutely insane to even think about doing business there. So that's just a change in perspective, right? I've had really good friends from years and years back, and so my own personal mind as a founder of this company, I'm open to do business with different cultures and different religions. That's a fundamental difference about this company that most companies don't have. But that's also a liability, right? So all the craziness that's going on over there, or you take a country like Venezuela, people don't even understand what's going on there, but you know, it's horrible. I see that more as a reputation risk of other companies, suppliers, or manufacturers that would not want to do business with a company that do that. But as a risk, that's also one of our biggest benefits and strengths, is that we have those connections and that we have those abilities and distribution channels for companies that do not have not gone into those markets yet, but want to, but don't want to do that under their own corporate umbrella.
Devin, how do you grow this? In my efforts to search for questions to lob up to you, Google doesn't exactly turn up companies like you. And
right.
If it does, they're enormous corporations with subsidiary companies that do what you do. So how do you first overcome that gap to grow from a very small company to doing business with big clients, but then also market your services and become discoverable?
Right, and great questions. Someone asked about SEO and analytics the other day, and I'm involved with that in different aspects and a partner of different companies. But we do not sell online. I don't have a Facebook handle. I'm not going to have a Facebook handle nor a Twitter handle. Those channels of distribution just simply do not match our market and our demographic, right? So it's completely direct marketing, direct marketing in different ways. One, to end users and retail buyers, and then through just different distributors and agencies are the channels in which we grow. How do we grow from a smaller company to a larger company, continue to fulfill our contracts, and really what's been interesting and really exciting is once you establish a relationship with these companies, you open yourself up for bidding process. And we naively, before this entity was even open, like the Cone Chips guy, Ken Craig, who came through here, gave us a really cool example of how being naive and just going and knocking on doors, the biggest doors, can be really beneficial. All my buddies are like, Aramco, 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 right? So we went after Aramco as our first client and really got all the way through and got to their priority list. And just asking for help from the procurement specialist, right? And being really nice and being a good Midwestern guy and saying things like, "Thank you, ma'am." That's an inside joke. But that's how we grow our business, is to be able to continue to fulfill the process, becoming a vendor. Once you're a vendor, you're on their vendor list pretty much indefinitely, and you receive bids first time, and then opening up different products and services and continuing to fill those services. Jose?
Hey, Devin.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey, what's up, K-Man? Oh, and hey, by the way, we got some peppers for you all, compliments of Corey. I don't know where they came from, but they're local.
So the middleman.
Yes, sir.
So how does that work out for like a warranty? You know what I mean? So like,
right.
You're taking a product, you're taking it, distributing it. How is that end result? They're like, all right, well it's broke or whatever. Like we've got an issue. How does that get back to them?
Right. How do we fix that?
Yeah.
Very good question. Standard warranties are most of the actual product warranties. So let's take a $250,000 startup unit for a motor and control system. The motors and controls are warranted through ABB, Siemens, the largest companies out there, right? And then the process controls, so the PLCs are warranted through our manufacturers. So great way to negate liability. We don't take that, but there is a warranty, and it's carried through all of our manufacturers.
Consumer, though, are they going to go and hop over you and go to like Siemens, or how does that work?
So, right, there's a standard procedure for these end users. Once something's set up, the guy who set it up, and we actually aren't doing physical installations. Either the in-house mechanics and engineers are doing their setup according to the specs in which we sent them. So they typically fix that stuff in-house, or they would go to the manufacturers and suppliers themselves. Yeah.
Two questions. The first is, what is your sustainable competitive advantage? And is that relationships, or is that something else? Relationships seem to be a theme. The second question is, given the countries where you're working and the products that you're working in, how are you navigating U.S. export control laws? Or maybe that's not an issue, I don't know.
Yeah, the export control laws aren't too much of an issue. All these companies are exporting on a small scale, and they're really just upping their volumes. The first question, the competitive advantage. The relationships are huge. And then the second side of that are the new technologies. New technologies have really just been a personal interest in me, and that's really the foundation of how this company started. So aspects like the portable power unit and PSX11, nobody, period, end of story, has access to those products. So that gives us an awesome, unique competitive advantage that we can then set up distribution relationships across the world.
So,
Jose?
Devin?
This guy's been bugging me for a question.
Well, I just want to say something that, I'm from Venezuela, and then, we have, like you mentioned, we have a lot of problems that are political, but that thing is going to change soon. And then those power units that you got there are amazing because we have electricity shortage in Venezuela right now. They don't know how, sometimes we got cities without electricity for a day. So
So the government has maybe 30,000 oil wells all over the country, and they need electricity to work. So these portable power units would be amazing. So I'm your guy, and we're gonna do it.
Viva la revolución! Mancho's been a really good friend of mine, and so he brings up some really interesting points. There's a lot of opportunity in markets like Venezuela, and we were starting to get involved in Venezuela, and this was, gosh, I forget when Maduro passed away. I went down there and started, 2 years ago, set up some relationships and was getting some contract starters, and Maduro passed away, and you know, it's gone downhill since. But just like he said, things will turn around, and when things turn around and when those economies rebuild, you know, we'll be the first ones there.
So Devin, in conclusion, you've got a lot of questions, so you can grab them afterwards. That's awesome. Now I know what you do. You wouldn't tell me. Anyway, because I don't have anything, I don't have any international contracts. What can we as a community do for you?
Oh gosh, you know, I really appreciate you all coming here and supporting this, supporting me, supporting my team. I couldn't do it without all of you, and I couldn't do it without them. So thank you all for just the continued support of the community of 1 Million Cups. If you happen to know somebody who might be able to help out CIEN Solutions, obviously you know where to find me. I'm all ears, and let's just keep working together. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Devin. Good job. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. We are always here every Wednesday, 9 to 10. I tell everybody I know, come in and see all the really exciting stuff that's going on. Thank you very much, everybody.